Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Season 4, Episode 24, The Equestria Games! This is the conclusion of the Equestria Games subplot of Season 4. AKA, they've built it up, and now it's actually happening. It's predominantly a Spike episode, but I can't summarize that, so you probably know the episode by now. If that's not enough, stab. Wait, I've got this phaser now. Hang on, let me... Alright, you ready? This is gonna sting for a second. So, point being, let's jump into the episode. I have a link here confirming it, for those of you curious. Boop, there you go. But yes, that is Kathy Westluck. I have no idea how to pronounce her name. Who is the actress who plays Spike? Mostly improv'd the song. It shows, if I'm being honest. There's only so much you can do with improv if you're not talented about that. But she does a pretty good job with it, given that. So I do want to give her some praise for that. It's a terrible song. I don't want to try and dismiss that. But it's harder than it sounds to do that kind of improv like that and not have it be much worse. Anyways. So, you ever have that moment where this just got real, like Rainbow says that right at the beginning, right? I point that out because I am exactly like that. Oh, actually, let me read first. I try to read these first. Hang on, I have it right here. We've established... hang on, so there's... Oh god, yeah, we gotta jump around for this one because of the previous issue. So we are over here now. This is from Spike. The Equestria games were so amazing. I guess. I was too busy being hard on myself to really enjoy them. As soon as I showed up at the Crystal Empire, which can we just rename this the Crystal City State? Is that a cool thing? As soon as I showed up at the Crystal City State, every pony was treating me like I was a big hero because I saved them from King Sombra when I carried the Crystal Heart. And since they felt I was a hero, I felt like I had to live up to it. They asked me to light the torch for the opening ceremony, which should have been a cinch, right? I mean, I am a fire-breathing dragon after all. But when the time came, I totally choked. Literally, I couldn't even muster up a spark. And what was even worse, Twilight had to light it for me with magic. After that, I got so stuck in my head I had to prove myself to every pony that I just kept messing up things more and more. Thank goodness, when every pony was actually in danger, I stepped up without even thinking about it. I breathed fire and actually saved the day. But that wasn't good enough for me. I mean, that's what any pony or any dragon else would have done if they could have, right? If their magic wasn't being blocked, or if they could breathe fire like me. Every pony was trying to convince me I was great, and it's weird, no matter how many times others tell you you're great, all the praise in the world means nothing if you don't feel it inside, and when you care about doing things well, you can become your own toughest critic. You have no idea. Sometimes to feel good about yourself, you gotta let go of the past. That way, when the time comes to let your greatness fly, you'll be able to light up the whole sky. There it is. We only have 2 entries left. That'll be next week. So, getting back to what I was talking about. This just got real. Oh, I know, SA2K. I'm exactly like that. You know, I don't care about a game coming out or visiting parents or a big event or whatever until I'm like right there, right? It's actually gotten closer as I've gotten older. Nowadays, I usually don't get excited until like the day before. But still, there's that. It takes a bit to get to that point where, oh my god, I'm actually such and suching, right? How many of you are like that? I'm just curious. I know it's not everyone. I actually know I'm in the minority on that one. Most people get hyped way in advance. I tend to get hyped right before, like just like, oh my god, tomorrow I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, stuff like that. It's there. I still get it. It still hits me. It's just, it hits closer to the event. And I just mentioned that because that's exactly what happened to Rainbow. Where, you know, she's on the train heading to the Equestria Games, and it's like, this just got real, right? And you can hear it in her voice, too. It's very good. She also says something, and I think Savicom said it already in chat. Winners or not, we all still have the chance to be awesome. Can I just say that's a great motto? Really. That is an amazing lesson right there. I could probably do an entire 3-hour speech about those words, and about how there's nothing wrong with not being number one, and how there's nothing wrong with not being a winner, and how you can still excel and still go and still do and still be and still show and still shine regardless of the fact that you don't have that platinum medal. That is an awesome phrase, and forgive me for gushing about this point, but holy crap. Let's get this out of the way, by the way. 4 continuity counters for this episode. Oh yeah, and Rainbow Dash admitting their team weren't going to win, which is okay, and being okay with that. We're still going to try, but we're not going to win. And they didn't win, which is funny. The Equestria Games itself, which is, of course, the arc, one of the arcs. Let's see, we had the Equestria Games, the Rainbow Keys, Discord's arc, and I feel like there was a 4th arc that was going across Season 4. I don't remember what it is right now. We enumerated all these back when we started Season 4 stuff. Anyways, this is the conclusion of the Equestria Games arc, so that gets one of them. There's a lot of ponies that actually are present in this episode that were part of the, I think, 4 or 5 episodes leading up to the Equestria arc here. So that's point number 2. The Crusaders, I almost said the Scarlet Crusaders. The Cutie Mark Crusaders. This is just my day for naming things the wrong things. The Cutie Mark Crusaders, and they're doing their, Ponyville Forever. It's the same shtick they did last time, so that's the 3rd one. And of course, the whole callback to Spike having saved the Empire from King Sombra. So that's 4 significant and major makes the story better continuity counters, which is the definition of that. I just want to hit those really quick. So, Spike is well known. That actually makes perfect sense to me. We do that kind of stuff in real life. Where... Okay, let me use a direct example for you. Alright, name the big name behind Star Trek the original series. Like if you were to make a star, not a star, that's the wrong word. If you were to praise someone and make statues of someone from the original series, who would you make it of? And yeah, you get the point. Roddenberry, right? Roddenberry! Robert Justman would probably be a better answer. Gene Kuhn would probably be a better answer, since both of them were more involved in actually making Star Trek. But the point is, that's not how real life works, right? That's for people who are enthusiasts. That's for people who are actually digging into it and learning more about it and know more about what it is. The greater group of people, the greater aggregate of public consciousness usually just picks one person out and says, that person. It's why directors and stars get so much focus when it comes to movies. Now, there's a good reason for that, of course, but that's why that mentality is. I mean, why do you think everyone says that the President of the United States is the focal point of all of the government of the United States? That's not a modern thing, by the way. That goes back like a couple centuries at this point, right? You get the point. We have that kind of thing. So even though the actual defeat of Sombra was in fact a group effort by quite a few people, they decided to pick up their Roddenberry, which in this case was Spike, and he's the one that they heap all the praise onto. Which is fine as long as you know the truth, but I just wanted to comment on that because it makes perfect sense that they would do that since he was probably the most literally visible. And yes, Mr. Red, this is the Final Fantasy Dissidia opening theme. Because they literally see him lunging for the crystal star in the air as Sombra's going after it, and the wife spear is being tossed up at it, and you get the point. I would also believe Cadence pushed for Spike as well. I agree with that. She totally would have an agenda there. In fact, you'll notice she heaps praise upon Spike multiple times, and each time it's in front of other people. I mean, Cadence probably knows how to play the role of a leader to some extent or another, so she's probably pushing a little bit of that into there as well. You also notice Twilight knew about this and never told Spike about this, which is interesting in its own right. Either way, makes perfect sense. Moving on. Looking at my notes here. So I want to mention a side thing here. I've talked before about the fact that I don't understand that statement, SA2K. I am about to talk about Luna and Celestia. I've talked before about the advantages of animation. I hate to go over this again, but forgive me. Let's say I want to do a bit in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which we were talking about earlier today, and we'll be talking about later. So let's... I know what you're talking about now. Let's say I want Odo in the background, because he's relevant or because he would be there. In order to... For me, the person making the television show, I need to call Rene Auberjonois in to about a 4 a.m. Makeup call, where he gets to lay there... well, you know, lay back in the table thing, and they get to put him into the makeup and put him into costume and get him in position and do this. And it is this huge, involved, in-depth process just to get him on camera. And yeah, they actually did this several times. There was one time where Odo got, I kid you not, one line in an entire episode. It's Only a Paper Moon. Odo shows up for one line in that episode. And which, of course, Raskor is also thinking of. But yeah, they did that several times in Deep Space Nine. That is a huge, involved, terrible process. Yeah, they did that with Data. They did that with Worf quite a bit, especially in Season 1. Now, I bring all this up because in animation, all of that is thrown out the window. Did you notice that Luna and Celestia have 0 lines in this episode? That means the actual actresses were not involved in the creation of the episode. Which is fine, because they were just there in the background. But you can do that with animation. This is one of the reasons I've said many times that an animated... well, yeah, Tabitha... You know what I mean, I say 2K. This is one of the reasons why I've mentioned before that Star Trek should have an animated show. It just needs to not be the animated series, which is total garbage, or Lower Decks, which I haven't seen. Right? Like, you could do that, right? Anyways, I'm getting off topic. But I did want to comment on that because I think it is one of the advantages of it. And speaking of animation, there's this really great bit where Spike sees the giant crowd, and the camera just lunges in on him, and the whole background completely adjusts all, like, in this weird warping, distorting way, as he's just like, you know, kind of like that, right? That was really good. I've been praising the animation lately, and I want to give even more praise for it. There's even bits where you can see ponies, very tiny, in the crowd. Not usually. Most of the time, the crowd is just little blurry blurbs, like just color things. But you do, periodically, you will see an individual pony here or there. For example, when Pinky is jumping up and down in the distance, you can see her. You can see the princesses in the long shots, stuff like that. Wonderful praise, as usual, for the animation and the artwork style. But yes, Clone Wars and Rebels are 2 examples of what I'm talking about that they could totally do in Star Trek and probably will never do. Because we have to have a comedy show for some reason. I don't even know if Lower Decks is good. I haven't seen it. It's just... Anyways. So, nerves. You ever been there? I have. It's hard to even explain what it feels like when you walk out and there's just... I remember it. I remember it. And there's just... And it was a huge audience, too. Oh, my God. We actually rented this theater. This is back when I was in theater. It was this huge theater, like one of those three-tier things. Like seats, 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 all the way up. I actually was involved in some of the lighting and... oh God, I can't think of the phrase all of a sudden. Gripping. Some of the grip work on that particular play we were doing. And I actually asked, and they did this, I actually asked if they could turn up one of the spotlights that was coming from the far back upper right area so that it would be sufficiently bright so that anybody on stage looking out at the crowd would see nothing. Turned out to be a good move, because it helps when you can't see the... God, like 500 people, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but holy crap. Anyways. But yeah, him just completely locking up there, I've been there, I know exactly what that feels like. It is a horrible sensation. Oh my God. I kind of started to get over that. I don't really have a good answer for how I knew how to get over that. That's the weird... I don't have a solution there. I don't have any lessons. It's just over time and repeated behaving in front of a crowd, I kind of got used to it, you know? Anyways. I really feel for him, is my point. And everyone just freaking out over it. Yep. Because that just makes it worse, doesn't it? No, seriously. You're terrified of of screwing up, and now you're in front of a huge crowd, and you're screwing up. Yeah, no, that sucks. That is not a pleasant sensation. And yeah, Miss Harshwini was not helping, but she probably is so used to it that it didn't even occur to her that he was, you know, getting freaked out by the size of the crowd and being completely unprepared to perform in front of 20,000 people. Nevertheless, yeah, that was... I don't want to forgive everything about that scene. It's just, that does make perfect sense that that would be like that. What's funny is, if I were to rewrite that scene, the only thing I'd do is I'd have Miss Harshwini walk up and light the thing. Which would only remove one scene from the episode, because everything else lines up perfectly after you do that. Because he finds out after only one scene that he didn't actually do it. And even that's just kind of a minor change. So that was very, very well done. Yeah, the terror that he's going through, I'm with it. Of course, naturally, Spike, who is an avid comic book reader, would presume that he has pyrokinesis. I don't even know if that was on purpose. That just lines up beautifully. I've got superpowers, of course! Maybe I can read people's minds now. Right? Oh, come on. Anyways. So I don't have much to say about the middle part of the episode, so we're just going to move forward a little bit. I need to talk... So they have a disabling spell on unicorns. That's really cool. In fact, that's so cool, I'm sad that I don't think that'll ever actually come up again. It's a bit terrifying in its own way. Can it be overpowered? Like, is it a limiter? Is it something where, like, it'll hold up to X amount of output, but if you were somehow a really, really powerful caster, would it actually overwhelm that? Is it just like a switch? Does it disconnect you from magic? Does it have to be... Yeah, maybe it can't be forced upon you. That's also a possibility. It's mentioned. The guy mentions that if you try to cast, we'll know. That implies there's also like a signaling thing involved too. We don't see that. It's just something that's kind of mentioned there. Is it limited by time? Does it like fade over time? Does it have to be triggered to turn off? Does it have a range limit? Because it's clearly being cast. The disabler is being cast by the metal detectors that are going through. Just interesting to think about. And yeah, of course the royalty would have to go do it too, not just because they would probably cheat, or might not cheat, but more because the fact that that's how you apply something like that. If you're going to apply a law, like all unicorns need to be disabled, you need to apply it universally, otherwise what you have done is you've made an exception, and now people are like, well, I should be an exception too. Now, obviously, even that doesn't apply unilaterally, because law is an incredibly morphic, complicated thing, but do you get my point? It would make sense that for the sake of ease, you know what, fine, I'll go ahead and walk through the thing too as a alicorn and just avoid that whole mess, right? Here you go, bam. Well, I would agree with that, Savicom. But yeah, I agree. In this case, with this exact circumstance, I think it is the correct move to have everyone get the disabling spell. Just to layer everything nice and neatly. You know, we're here for fair games, where there's no cheating, there's no whatever, there's no exceptions, we're just here to have fun and cheer our crowd and blah, blah, blah. That's especially important, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed this. This is the first Equestria games in centuries that included the Crystal Empire, the Crystal City-State. Now, obviously, the Equestria games are a big deal anyways, but the Equestria games plus Atlantis... Like, in all honesty, picture in real life, the next Olympics also involves the lost city of Atlantis, which was a real thing, and they have to come back all of a sudden. That would be a much bigger deal than it normally would, right? Yeah, huge financial boost, huge politics and public relations boost. This is a really big deal, so it makes perfect sense that they would be willing to go to such extents for this one. It's almost sad because Spike screwing things up just is even worse when you think about it. And I suppose this is as good a time as any to talk about the Cloudsdale anthem. Now, I don't like this scene. Let me just start with let's just start with that. The moment he realized he was singing the wrong song, he should have probably bowed out, admitted it, or froze up, right? One of the three. Yeah, it's cringe comedy. I don't care for cringe comedy. I never have. So it's just kind of, okay. Again, I will give credit to Kathy Westluck because she did a good job with what she was told to do. But it's uncomfortable. That's a good word. It's an uncomfortable thing to watch. That's the point of cringe comedy. That's why I don't like cringe comedy. Because it's cringy. So that's why I don't think my jokes are funny, for example. Now, that being said, this is easily the worst part of the episode for me, is that entire scene. There is one thing that helped make it slightly better. Nailed it! Now, you're probably thinking, what? Do you remember all the way back in Season 1, You Gotta Care, You Gotta Share? You remember that? Do you remember the only person in the crowd who liked that song? For those of you who do not, Spike was the only one who liked that song. And it's not like Pinky likes every song. Just a few episodes ago in Testing 1 2 3, she hated Rainbow Dash. Well, hated. She said Rainbow Dash's song was terrible. Honestly, that was pretty awful. I believe is their exact word. Anyways, so we move past the cringe. Oh yeah, by the way, I say my jokes are terrible. Here's my joke of the day. Apparently, Cloudsdale is Greece. I can explain that one if I have to. Minor detail point. There's a lot of fun little details in the background. There's an armoire in Spike's room. It has a moon symbol and a sun symbol, and it's properly colored to be like Celestia and Luna there. And I just point that out because there's actually a decent amount of symbology of the two princesses in various places, including the Crystal Empire, which makes sense. But I wonder if that's the kind of thing that's been added to, like more people have been doing that lately, specifically because of the fact that the Crystal Empire is now reconnected with the rest of Equestria. Yeah, I liked how the Griffins were just whatevering that whole time. Okay, I'll explain the Greece thing. Greece has the longest national anthem of any nation in the world. I just wish this song would end. But yeah, that's the joke. So, you ever been at that point? You ever been at the point? No, Greece, the nation. We're gonna conquer the world from Greece. All right, so you ever been so discouraged and or depressed and or disinterested you just don't want to interact with the people who are trying to make you feel better? Because I have. Usually I just have to disconnect at that point. Just like, nope. Lay in bed. Play with the knife. You know, I'm kidding. I don't do that anymore. No, yeah. Yeah, the CMC trying to cheer him up. The Twilight coming in and basically dragging him back into the stands. Yeah, I've been there, Spike. I've been there, buddy. Either way, can I just say that I absolutely love the idea of ice archery? That is so one of the things I love that fiction in general tends to do is they combine something completely mundane with something unique to the setting, something magical, usually. And I love the idea of having to do an archery contest where the goal is to fill out the target, and each arrow you put in, you know, puts out a little bit of ice, right? And so obviously there's like an efficient absolute minimum number of arrows, but that would require a very precise showing. That's just really cool. That's a wonderful, magical, augmented, skill-based archery contest thing that I just love. I love that kind of stuff in fiction. That's so cool. Naturally, that then makes perfect sense for why an ice archery arrow would then interact with a cloud. Remember, almost all of the clouds in this setting are artificial. They're manufactured. So we have a magical arrow which generates ice in a magical cloud. Of course it's going to turn into a giant glacier. That also helps to explain why it falls rather slowly rather than just conk, which is probably what should have happened if it was just, you know, a chunk of ice, right? In fact, I would imagine it wasn't fully iced up. It was just icing up and solidifying, which was increasing its thing. It was basically turning into a form of fog, and obviously it would cause some issues. Yeah, neglecting... I'm a little astonished no Pegasi were clearing out the clouds beforehand. I could make fun, and I could, but honestly that also kind of tracks with my real life experience. Even for a big, super, mega awesome event, there's always something you forget. There's always some dumb thing, and it's like, oh crap, I forgot about... Quick, turn on camera 3, turn on camera 3. I know it's not set up for that, just here, turn it to the right, here, I'm looking, turn it to the right, okay, and switch to camera 3. I've been the guy in the booth. It's actually extremely stressful, by the way. Wonderful, I love it, I enjoy it, but man, it's stressful. Either way, yeah, they probably should have had Pegasi clear that up, and it just never really occurred to them. Shrug. Yeah, exactly, SA2K. Why would you shoot a cloud? That's not... You get the point. There's always something people either miss or don't account for. I wouldn't be surprised that going after this, like going forwards, removing clouds from the stadium is now going to be part of the setup, the rules for any of these games in the future. Anyways, just food for thought. So then Spike does something kind of awesome. Now, the episode takes a little bit too much time saying Spike is awesome. This is the time when Spike is legitimately awesome, in my opinion. And it's, funnily enough, the exact same reason he was awesome back in the Crystal Empire episode, the King Sombra thing. Why? It takes a special and unique kind of person to, when an actual crisis hits, instantly and without hesitation jumps in to make things better. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone is like that. Spike just jumping in because there's trouble, I'm with that. And that is its own particular flavor of awesome, its own type of who you can be, right? I've actually talked about this concept many times, although usually in more complex scenarios than this. Who's the person who's there for you when the chips are down? When things get real? So Spike just does it. It's like, yep, okay, let's do it. And then, of course, he thinks it's no big deal because, of course, he does. He was just doing what anybody else would have done. And he's right. But that doesn't diminish it. And actually, I'm going to disagree with myself because, again, not everyone would just do that even if they could. You'll notice that not every Pegasi jumped in to try and prevent the thing from falling. Only some of them did. I'd say like 10, maybe, total. Including Luna and Celestia, yeah, who also didn't do anything. That's whatever. So then, Spike's just like, yeah, Twilight does hit the nail on the head. The one who's disappointed in you is you. Ain't that the truth? I don't think there's a single person on this planet who is more disappointed in me than I am. And I am. I'm not even ashamed to admit it at this point in my life. I am legitimately disappointed by how lack of successful I am. I hesitate to call myself a loser because it's actually inaccurate, but I have yet to win. I have yet to succeed. So it's not quite being a loser, but, you know... So I feel that one, too. What is winning? Well, when I can... No, as soon as I can make everything beautiful again, that'll be when I'm winning. I do have to comment. There's this bit where Twilight... Spike says, I wish we could turn back time and I could do the opening ceremony again. And Twilight is like, and it's only there for like half a second, but I'm just thinking, oh god, Twilight's thinking about... Because she's used temporal magic already. More than once. But no, then Cadence jumps in and is like, hang on, no, I got this. Actually, it might not have been more than once at this point, now that I'm thinking about that. It's just one day, it's fine. But anyways, that's the end of the episode. He gets to light off the fireworks. He's awesome, everything's awesome. I liked this episode. I did. This was an enjoyable episode for me. It faltered because of the cringe and because it wouldn't stop repeating its point. I will freely admit those points. But I do think the good absolutely outweighs the bad in this case. In fact, if I'm being completely blunt, this episode was better than I thought it would be. Where are we at? Dave Polsky, there he is. That would be funny. That would explain why Cadence just jumps in. Like, no, wait, we can't travel through time. Look at Twilight. Yeah, this is also a good... it's effectively a conclusory episode to much of what's been going on throughout Season 4. Oh, I am too, Larian. Don't mistake me. Yeah, no, this is definitely not purple. I'm not sure this qualifies as red. Yes, it was. Dream Whisper, don't worry. I think... this is definitely at least above average, I would say. I'm debating if it's above average or if it's good. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Savicom, one of the compliments that I hate is people keep telling me I'm a genius. I'm not. I am not a genius. If I was a genius, things would probably be different. But yeah, I think we're going to go with orange there. I think above average is a good color for that. Which means... let me make sure that... let me check the HUD here. Make sure we're up to date. Which we're... these go up to here. Yep, that's where we're at. Next episode... here, I'm going to chop off the local recording.